Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do
and do tech good.
Do tech. Pow, pow, pow. Hey, thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate you watching tonight. We actually had a different guest, and we have a surprise guest with us, and we'll get to him in a minute. And we're really thankful he was able to join us. But before that, we just really want to thank everybody at Event Apart, right, Janelle?
Yeah, we do. Thank you so much, so much. We loved talking to all of you. You guys were all spectacular, and gals. Yeah, we got to speak to a lot of speakers, which was super awesome. We got to meet some people.
Yeah, Kravitz,
all the people.
Yeah,
I love that. So it was really, really cool, and we were able to chat with them and bring you guys into the conference, which we really loved. So yeah,
it was so awesome. We were there for all 3 days, October 8th, 9th, and 10th, and yeah, thank you so much, Eric. Really appreciate you having us at the event. And go to our website, thundernerds.io. Go to our YouTube channel and watch all those videos. Listen to the podcasts.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Brian, I think
I'm going to read a review, guys.
Well, before you do, how can people subscribe to us?
I don't know. I have no idea. We don't have a podcast, do we?
Okay, great. So please remember to subscribe to the show.
Wait, I was gonna whoa, man, literally jumping in on my stuff.
Oh, okay, you gotta go.
Yes. So we have a YouTube. So definitely subscribe to us on YouTube. We would love that, and review us because we like reviews, good, bad, ugly, whatever you need, but definitely good. We don't really want the ugly. And definitely review us on iTunes as well, because we want to be in your ears all the time.
Go to thundernerds.io/review and give us a review. Really appreciate it. And Brian actually has a review to read for us today.
I do.
Yeah.
It's from the awesome Dan Denny. It's titled "So Much Energy Combined with Great Interviews." As a regular listener of podcasts, I haven't found one that brings the level of energy that this group does. They're zany and fun, but also excellent at interview questions. Woo! In every episode, you'll learn more about the work that the person does, but also so much about the person themselves. Also, I have gotten to see them in action at a conference, and they work really hard to put the show together with all of the speakers at an event.
Thank you so much, Dan.
We love you.
Yeah, we were at the Front End Design Conference this year, and I personally been to every single one. I know Brian has too. Janelle actually got to speak at one.
I did one time. It happened.
Yeah, it did. That was awesome. So yeah, we have quite a love for that conference. So thanks, guys. Thank you, Dan.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest. Like I said, we have a surprise guest, and we're so happy that he's joining us tonight. We have front-end developer at Codepen, Stephen Shaw. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. So nice to have you, man. Wow. And now at the Codepens, and as we were talking about earlier, before we started recording, it's so funny watching you here. I feel like I'm watching an episode of the Keyframers.
Yep. This is the glorious that is used for Codepen, or for Keyframers. Soon to be used for Codepen. I'll be working out of here full-time for Codepen starting next week.
That's so awesome. Is Mr. Khourshid gonna pop up somewhere? And
no, not that I'm aware of.
He sleeps under the bed.
Right. I think there's just one surprise gift.
Yeah, I mean, if you have one keyframe, you also need the other for the Keyframers.
Yes.
I know. I feel like we've gone with full keyframe now. We're at 0 to 24. Nice.
Excellent.
Little keyframe joke there that didn't go well.
Everyone laughed. You didn't hear
awesome.
them.
So hey, where are you joining us from today, Stephen? You're in where? Texas?
Yes, I am in Houston, Texas, and y'all are all Florida-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are.
Yeah. I actually grew up in Florida. I've been in Houston about 10 years, but grew up in the Panhandle. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Good you're out of there now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all those poor people.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for everybody that had to go through that.
Yeah, but do y'all only interview people from Florida? I've gone back and listened to a few episodes, and everybody was from Florida.
Oh no, we interview people actually all over the world.
Okay. Just making sure. It seemed a little.
Florida's so great that it's just very common, you know. That's why everyone leaves. Wait.
No, Istanbul, Spain, London, you name it.
Nigeria.
Cali. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was looking at the event apart list y'all had. That's incredible. Some great names there, Val and Eric and.
Yeah, that was amazing takeaways from that. I ask anybody to go in and just watch a few of those because we got it was just a great experience, and everybody was so wonderful and shared their time and shared so many great points about their talks. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to try and get a bunch of them on the next season, so that'll be exciting to get a more like in-depth talk with them.
Yes, I'm excited for literally everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. So, Stephen, do you mind if we just kind of talk a little bit about some of your experience? Obviously, you're at Codepen now, and you have or you were at an agency called L. Am I seeing this right?
Yes, L Creative. Actually, tomorrow is my last day there before I move on to Codepen. So I'm putting bows on everything as much as I can to wrap everything.
You did tell them, right? You're not just be like, bye guys.
Codepen life.
I check my outbox, make sure that went through. I gave them as much notice as I could, and they're all super excited for me. They know what a big opportunity it is to be at Codepen. But yeah, it's been such an amazing experience there. It's really helped me grow a lot and dive into technologies I wouldn't have otherwise, like WebGL and just Vue and all of that. I've grown so much there. It's been a little over 5 years now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of that, like, how did you even get started with stuff? Like, how did you get into coding and into being so awesome, being the person that you are and working for Codepen?
The year was 1996. A young Stephen Shaw was sitting at his dad's laptop and discovered the view source option of Internet Explorer, probably 4 or 5 at the time, if even that. And then it was actually on some kind of local web page where the HTML file was stored on the computer, and I figured out you could edit that. So I just started going in and changing text. It was some boring stat list table, of course, and I started going in and adding stats for video game characters instead. And then just the interest grew from there, and started making fan sites and just learning more about HTML mostly at the time, and copying, pasting CSS and JavaScript from all these other view source opportunities. And yeah, just kept at it from there.
Well, that's how we all kind of started, right? What kind of fan sites? I want to know about this.
Oh goodness. I think my first one was just a general Nintendo one.
Yes.
Out there somewhere on tripod. And then a few Sonic the Hedgehog ones as well.
GeoCities?
I really didn't use GeoCities all that much. Tripod was my go-to. What was it? Lycos? Lycos was the search engine.
Oh, yeah.
Had some hosting as well. But Tripod I usually leaned on.
And what was your kind of first languages that you played with? Obviously, you were, everybody starts off with HTML, CSS, plays with a little bit of JavaScript or jQuery for, back then. What was your path?
Oh, well, PHP was probably next. So HTML, a little bit of CSS, but mostly inline styles, because at the time that was the fashion. And then, PHP got in the mix at times. around like 2003, I actually built just like a personal site where I was posting photos from, you know, just my friends and I hanging out and all of that. Built like a little comment engine and all that in there with PHP, and that was super cool at the time because I don't even think Facebook really had that kind of functionality. So that was just super fun for my friend group, and then and just kept growing from there. You know, eventually dove into JavaScript and jQuery, probably starting with jQuery and then moving into JavaScript around like 2006, 2007 era.
And then did you just start from there building freelance sites? Because I know your freelance that you go under is Broken Square, right?
Yeah, that name didn't come about till like 2008, but I've been doing freelance sites since the early 2000s. I think the first one was, you know, just a family friend had made a children's book and needed a small website for it, so they designed it and sent it over to me to code, and then just, you know, little small projects from there as I was going through school and all that.
What's the thing with the name?
I think I was trying to be super hip, and in my mind, like the ultimate naming scheme was, you know, some kind of verb and noun, and you know, just like Coldplay or, you know, whatever. So I just was brainstorming and put that together, and the domain was available, so it was a done deal.
That's awesome. Did you get like started by any chance, like just designing for like your local churches, or did you just, how is it different to design for a church than, you know, like just an agency or, you know, a company as a whole?
Yeah. So I did my first actual, you know, job that wasn't just like retail, was at my local church, doing the web development for them. And I also did a little bit of design for them. That wasn't specifically my role, but you know, I had the interest in it, and so they threw me at it. And you know, that like working on any internal site, like, you know, when you work at a company and you're working on that company's site, you know, it's just this interesting challenge of trying to meet everybody in that organization's needs, and you know, I was the only person responsible for that, so you know, it was definitely an interesting challenge.
Well, what was the point where you're like, wait, I could totally do this for a living? Like, what was the when did the coin flip? You're like, hey.
Well, so when I was going to school, my degree was in digital media / telecommunications, and that had like a small web component to it, but also stuff like painting and 2D design, and we did some animation and video and you know, working in like a TV studio and like all that kind of stuff. It was just this great mix of all these different things I was interested in, and the web just has a way of combining them all. So you know, I'd been using the web by the time I was, you know, 10 years by the time I was in college, and you know, been learning all those technologies. So it just progressed into a career. Basically, I was doing the part-time gig at my local church, and then got an offer out in Houston to work for a church out here full-time, and so, you know, at that point, it was pretty obvious that I could continue doing that for an actual living.
And may I ask, is that church, was that in Florida when you made the jump?
So I was in Florida at a church called Olive Baptist, and then moved to Houston to start working at Houston's First Baptist Church. A guy that I'd worked for back in Florida had actually gotten a job out in Houston at that church and needed a web guy, so he gave me a call. It just lined up perfectly. I had a friend from Florida that was moving out at exactly the same time to Houston for another job, and So everything was just orchestrated really well to, you know, have a roommate, have an apartment, and, you know, get started on a kind of new life, new adventure outside Florida. And I met my wife on my first day at work, so it worked out pretty cool.
Dang, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
That is the cutest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was quite awesome.
Well, speaking about, you know, serendipity, how did you know, Keyframers get started? You know, your big old, like, this is like your TV time almost, right? Like, you're like famous now.
Yeah, we heard David's story. What's your story?
Yeah, famous is pushing it for sure.
What?
Super famous?
Yeah.
Yes.
Extra famous?
Right. You were a little low there.
What are those flashes? Like, is that paparazzi outside your window?
Yes, world famous is what I was looking for. No, Keyframers. So I started kind of ruminating on this idea about a year ago. A buddy of mine has been really into Twitch, and he, you know, does some random gaming stuff, streaming, and then he just randomly started streaming himself reading a book. Like,
what, really?
Like literally reading a book, but not aloud, just reading a book to himself.
Tell me that's super successful too, right?
And it was moderately successful.
What? Shut all the front doors.
Right. And so that just okay, if people are willing to watch this, what is something that, you know, I do that would be something, you know, people
that's hilarious, interested
in. And so that got me thinking about the idea of code and how it's usually this really solitary kind of action. You know, there is pair programming, but by and large, you know, when you're programming, you're just kind of by yourself. You're, you know, in some dark corner most of the time, and just, you know, plugging away at it,
crying. Yeah.
But I wondered if there was a way to make that exciting, because it's awesome. I mean, you're creating something from scratch. So I just kind of was tossing around this idea, and like, okay, a single person doing some code. I mean, there's potential there, but what if people were able to work together on something? And I stumbled across Codepen's collab mode, and started experimenting with that. Reached out to David, and started talking with him, seeing if that was anything he was interested in. We actually had never met. We still haven't met face to face.
What?
Yeah, he's all the way out in Florida. I mean, he travels all the way around. He's actually got
Orlando.
Yeah, he's actually gotten as close as San Antonio, but I just haven't been able to travel out to meet up with him. But I started reaching out to him, and we organized everything, got it started. The first time we actually talked and like video chatted was like 10 minutes before the very first episode, and that worked out rather well. So yeah, it's been super fun to be a part of, and seeing people get involved in that, and learning from that. That's our main goal is to teach these techniques that we love and that can really help other people out.
And you help yourself out too, because you're basically constantly working on something that it gives you an incentive to be like, hey, I'm going to work on this. It's not my job stuff. It's learning something that I might not normally do, and repetitively doing something I might not normally do.
Totally. And the benefit of the collaborative coding, you know, I get a completely different mindset from David, and a completely different approach to the same problem.
Who does it wrong usually? Is it you or him?
There's no wrong approach. There's just approaches that are more right.
For our audio listeners, I just want to confirm that Stephen is holding up a sign that says David.
We've seen it right here.
No, David has such a great mind for programming, and loves to take a really a really like systematic approach to a lot of things. You know, he's always talking about state machines and trying to espouse the value there, and it's legitimate, and it's something that's, you know, been around since the 70s or 80s in terms of the concept. But as web developers, you know, we really move on to the newest stuff instead of focusing on problems that have already been solved and how they've been solved in the past. So he's bringing such a great perspective to all of that, and I feel like most of the time I'm just, you know, augmenting what he's already doing. But yeah, it's super fun getting to learn from him and work together in that.
I think you guys too have a really good dynamic back and forth.
Definitely.
Like, you keep it funny, and there's always, you know, obviously there's a lot of value that you're bringing, because there's so many things within just CSS grid, for example, that you could learn every day. Like when I was watching guys the other night, and I was just like, oh wow, I didn't know I could do it like that. Like, oh, there's a little thing here, like that. So yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah. I think the big value too is also the fact that it's not even the technology; it's the fact that watching you guys and seeing that, hey, you know, they have to look it up too. They don't know exactly how to do it either. I mean, no matter how long you're doing it, you know, it's you know, a big part of the show is, you know, people behind the technology and the fact that they are people. They make mistakes. They kind of have to figure it out and work through it just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys aren't robots just typing it out and done in like 10 minutes. You're figuring it out.
Yes. Figuring it out live is sometimes a bit of a challenge as you're trying to talk through the process and work through all of that. But
they're staring at you. They're seeing that you can't do it.
Terrifying, by the way. I heard that in my ear, and I was like, I'm going to die. Today is the day I die.
You know, who's behind it?
Stop!
Really?
I'm so gullible.
Steven, how is the chat experience with it? Because obviously you guys do it live, you're getting chats. Are people helping you figure things out, or are you more answering questions along the way? And what are people getting from that?
Oh, it's a good balance of both. We do have a fair bit of, you know, people coming in and asking questions, and new to the stream and just trying to figure out what we're doing or what we're working on. And that's super fun to engage with within limits. And then there are a lot of times we're just spinning our wheels, we get stuck on something, and we're able just to reach out, and, you know, somebody can provide a link or, you know, point us in the right direction that gets our wheels going again.
I think you guys have.
What's that?
I think you guys have like the coolest like dynamic together too. Like with that, the fact that like you guys all have your fans there to support you, and are like, hey, you know, did you consider doing this thing instead? And it's like, done, awesome. Like, we didn't even think of that. Like, it's fixed in like 3 lines of code. That's super cool.
Yeah, that is super helpful. And, you know, I would love for that to be, you know, just the general experience of coding, like to be able to have that kind of support and that, you know, feedback as you're going. And I've never been able to pair program or anything like that. I would probably find that super frustrating, but the idea of it is very appealing. When you've got two minds or more approaching the same problem, there's great potential for great solutions.
You know, I heard a really interesting rumor on the internet that I just made up today, that the Keyframers are going to be a new show for Codepen. Is that true?
That is not true. Keyframers is still its own entity.
I don't know.
So you're retiring from Keyframers? Is that
no, Keyframers will still be.
Last episode is next week.
No, we will be taking a short break coming up over the winter, just for family time and to do some additional work on Keyframer stuff that's not the stream, and then we'll be starting back up in early next year.
Ooh, you know, David dropped a little bit of hints of what your extra added value is going to be. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, we do have a lot of stuff in the works that we've been putting together. Basically, you know, the goal of Keyframers is to help educate developers on the things you can do with web technology, specifically with animation. And so, you know, additional video content that we actually produce versus, you know, do live on the air, and articles and some animation content. We'll be retooling the stream format a little bit for next year, and having some guests on, doing additional challenges and that kind of stuff. So that's going to be really fun.
Oh my gosh, who's your first guest? Can you tell
Brian
us that?
Hinton.
We don't have the first guest specifically scheduled yet, so it's going to come down to availability. But we have a small list that we've put together of people we've talked to.
I did hear a rumor about 2 seconds ago that it was Brian Hinton.
Yeah, my content will be all about the marquee element.
Ooh,
that's a very fancy thing. Yeah. Is that HTML3?
With web components, you can remake it.
I think it's like 1 point something.
Bum, bum, bum. Right? So, I kind of like, what happened?
I was just thinking about a React marquee component. Sorry. It made me chuckle.
Yeah. You can do it.
Yeah.
The technology exists.
So I was looking around the internet for, you know, because we stalk you before the show, no biggie. So I saw that you wrote like a thing for Smashing Magazine about centering things and it being hard.
Yes. So that.
Let's talk about it.
Let's get to the center of that.
It's the classic joke for developers that, you know, CSS, it's impossible to center things. Like, I just want things to be lined up. It's so hard. But I actually stumbled across something back in 2013 that I'd never seen covered anywhere. I was searching all around once I found it, and couldn't find anything on it. So I was like, well, this is important. Like, people can use this. So I put together a small demo on Codepen, kind of documented it a little bit. And this was before Codepen had posts, but this was basically a post within just a Codepen pin. And put that together and then just kind of tweeted it out and like tagged Smashing Magazine and CSS Tricks and a few others. And then it just started exploding. I mean, exploding like 200 likes. Which at the time, like, you know, five years ago, Stephen Shaw was like, this is amazing. And it was just super cool seeing the response to it. And Smashing Magazine reached out and said, hey, can you polish this up, cover a couple other techniques and put it together in an article. But it's still super relevant to today. Most people don't know the power of margin auto. At the time, Flexbox was still a little bit of a not reliable technology because it wasn't as cross-browser compatible as it is now.
It was a dream. It was a dream.
Yes. It was around and it did have some support, but, you know, because of all the IEs, you basically were locked out of it. But position absolute with top 0, bottom 0, right 0, left 0, and then margin auto. Will actually center an element in whatever its container is. So as long as it has a fixed width and height, which could be a percentage width or percentage height, or something like an image where it does have actual dimensions, it will be centered in its container. And at the time, like that was huge. There, you know, for any kind of centering technique, that was important. So yeah. That was my first big break, I guess. I didn't really do anything after that for about 3 or 4 years, but yeah, that was.
And it's interesting now how you could easily do that with Grid.
Right. And now, you know, centering is just completely a joke. You can do it, you know, in 2 or 3 lines and be done. But yeah, it was revolutionary for the time.
They're like margin auto. What? throw it in a grid. What's wrong with you?
Well, margin auto actually still works really well with display grid and Flexbox. So you can have a child within a Flexbox or grid parent and just add margin auto to it, and it'll be centered. And that's basically all the styles you need. Or you can apply the styles to the parent if you wanted to. But yeah, margin auto still has a big place.
Echo.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that like we use consistently, like even in our production code too, is margins. Like literally, like your code looks like stuff that's in our production all the time. So totally, like, thank you for your awesome ingenuity.
That's great. I actually didn't pioneer that technique. I discovered it from just like a comment on some random article where somebody was like, why don't you just do this? And then I was scouring the internet, like, where did this come from? Like, I can't find any other references to this. And so that's why I put all that together, because, it was mind blowing.
And are you still publishing for Smashing Magazine or any other something that distributes this stuff around?
I really should write more, but the process for me, I guess a little bit of perfectionism. I also want to make sure that I'm accurate in what I do. So I spend way too much time researching when I should be producing that or just.
You can always update it.
Yeah, I guess so. My last article was early this year for CSS Tricks on animating border.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, that was a nice one. I enjoyed that one. It was just kind of based on a random website I was working on where we needed a border animation, and it's super hard to do performantly. And I proposed the challenge to Twitter and got a lot of great responses to it. But there's no just one great solution. You really have to play with it, and that's what the article covers.
So is that the way that you get a job at Codepen? You just write a ton for CSS Tricks, and you tweet out things and say, hey, Chris Coyer, I would like a job at Codepen. Okay, thanks.
Did you say job? Is that how you asked him?
Exactly. I think that helps. But really, those are the only two articles that I've written. I think just the rest of my work on Codepen, the platform, has helped me gain a little bit of visibility, and then the Keyframer stuff as well.
Do you use Codepen there?
We sure do.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Do you know who's in the room with you?
Don't do that to me! like my whole life flashes before my eyes, sir. I don't think you understand.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. That'll happen 5 more times.
I guess that's the third time this episode.
So, Stephen, what kind of technology are you really looking to as far as the future? Like, are you all in on CSS Grid? Is that what you're really focusing on, or is there something else? Like, are you, playing with Vue here and there? Like, what are you playing with on the side?
Well, so Vue is awesome. I've been using that in production code for maybe 2 years now, a year and a half. And that's been revolutionary just in updating my mindset from kind of scattered JavaScript to actually trying to condense things down into a component, and really focusing the functionality there. I do a little bit of React stuff, and with Codepen, that'll be the primary technology I'll be working with. And then CSS Grid, I need to get really up to date on that. Honestly, my knowledge with CSS Grid is bare minimum. So it's just something that like.
So, sorry, I don't mean to interject, but let me just preface my what is when I see you doing CSS Grid on the show on Keyframers, it seems like you know quite a bit.
No, that is
got cheat sheet like right here.
So learnCSSgrid.com is usually open in another tab. while I'm doing Keyframers, or sometimes pulled up on the air. But yeah, my knowledge of that is very surface level. I really need to dig in to using it deeper. Just haven't had the opportunity. But
yeah, Wes Boss's demo is amazing. His videos.
Yes, I've got that in my queue.
And I will say it doesn't cover a lot of the newer stuff though for our listeners. It's great to get. I think it's like perfect for like if you're just starting out and you're trying to really understand the basics and how it works. But then like, you know, all the more advanced things like the template and it doesn't touch on that well.
Well, there's a lot of that in there, but just like you said, it's it came out at a certain date. And,
things are advancing.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great intro into CSS Grid.
Oh, I love Wes and I love all his stuff, so I definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna shout out Jen Simmons and Rachel Andrew just real quick because they're like the queens of CSS Grid. So they have Layout Land. Literally, Rachel Andrew was like,
she's got a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, every step of the way that like, you know, CSS Grid even existed. Rachel Andrew was right there. So definitely recommend those wonderful women to learn from. So and we interviewed them. So yeah,
check out the video with the Simmons. Yeah, it was amazing. Jen, her videos are just amazing. Like if you don't have any kind of concept of what Grid is and you've just been in that kind of float world, it will totally you'll get it.
Yeah, I definitely need to go back through Layout Land and get into that.
Highly recommend. Yeah. It's Thunder Nerds approved, I would say.
Janelle, is that Steven behind you?
I'm gonna fight you. We're gonna fight. Today's the day. I'm gonna go to St. Petersburg, Tampa. And I'm gonna fight you.
Good thing, because I'm in Sarasota, so I'll be fine.
We'll hang out, Janelle.
So, go ahead, Janelle.
Sorry, I'm gonna tag team with Brian, and then we're gonna. It's okay. Yeah, we'll get you
we'll get him.
I need a good getting.
Set up some Home Alone style traps.
Well, so I have a really cool question for you, I guess. So I hear you're pretty dapper. Let's talk about that dapperness that people are saying about you.
Will you admit that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an award?
I don't think I've won any awards. I mean, many accolades, but no specific awards. Yeah, I think 90% of it is just the beard. You know, it really sets the tone, and then so I match my outfits and everything to the beard. And
need a handlebar a little bit. I think that would really take it up a notch.
I've tried before. It works pretty well.
Do you and your wife like go to like Disney Dapper Days? Like
Disney Dapper Days? I haven't.
Yeah, they have like Dapper Days.
That's a thing.
Disney World.
Yeah.
Huh. I've not heard of that.
Oh my gosh, you need to make a date, and that's how you can meet like David afterwards later. But like, make a date with your wife, Disney's Dapper Days, and then call it a day.
Actually, a day. It's called Dapper Day. You can go to dapperday.com. It really is a thing.
I mean, yeah, it is.
Right.
I'm surprised that you and David didn't meet at a conference, if not one that he's been speaking at or just going to one,
So, fun little tidbit. I've actually never been to a web conference.
See, I would think that you would be not only one that would go, but speak.
I've only applied at one so far to speak, and didn't get in. But I don't know. I just really haven't had an opportunity. Houston isn't really great in terms of the web community. Like there doesn't seem to be much of a gathering. And for the fourth or fifth largest city in the U.S., there's no like significant web meetups here, and so. That's one. It's just been proximity to any conferences.
Start one.
We're crying for you right now.
Call it something dapper, like Dapper Conf.
Dapper Dev.
Dapper Dev. There we go. Dapper Dev Conf. Done.
Broken Square Con.
February of 2019.
I have done a couple of Codepen.
That is so stunning.
Yeah, some.
You want me to get into that box? Is that what that's saying? Get in the box.
It's a sign. Yeah. Yeah, we've hosted a few Codepen meetups at L, and that's how I actually met my replacement that's replacing me there at that agency. And you know, it's only happened a couple of times, but my replacement's interested in continuing it, so probably at least be helping out with those.
That's awesome. Hey, do you mind if we just quickly talk about what your new day-to-day is going to be at Codepen?
We can. I don't know what it is yet, but yeah, my role is front-end developer. So I imagine I'll be bouncing around between a lot of the different aspects of Codepen, fixing bugs, updating legacy code, and working on new features and things like that. Not much I can talk about on that front yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, predicting the future a little bit. Well, I think we're. Does anybody else have any questions before we kind of start going into stuff?
I think this is an appropriate time to start the lightning round. What do you think?
I think so too.
Then we could like ask all the questions real fast.
Mm-hmm. Brian.
I didn't bring my umbrella.
Oh.
Well, I would say
for you.
I'd say I'd like to shine a quick light on something though.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't know if you were ready.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. So this is what I like to call a spotlight, and the whole intent is to get a better look into each one of us, especially our guests. It's a group question. We all answer. Guest answers last. Thank you. Spotlight. So this week's question is: what are some small things that you do? Thank you, Frederick. Every day or any day that makes your day better, like something that you do every day that makes your day better. And the goal is to kind of get a look into you beyond not the tech, just something you do. Mine is every day. In the morning, I used to make coffee, but now I'm making tea. I kind of switched over onto the tea wagon. I make tea for myself and my girlfriend, and we sit and have our tea. Maybe read the newspaper. It's a nice start to the day. It's very relaxed. It's chill. It's not tech. It's not TV. It's not a screen. It's a nice cup of something hot and just relaxing. So that's
a real newspaper.
A real newspaper. Yeah, I recommend everyone to subscribe to your local newspaper. They're what keeps the news real, and they're the ones who highlight the real stories. So, Frederick, I'll make you go next.
Sure, I'd love to go next. I think for me, every morning, I love doing a little bit of tickle fights with my son and just chasing him around, and probably for a good 20 to 30 minutes. And that's how we start a day, is running around the house and playing tickle. Yeah, tickle me! And it's a lot of fun. So that always makes my day a little happy. Janelle?
That's super cute. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I was like awing a lot. I quit. I don't even want to answer because that was really adorable.
Let that guy behind you answer.
Look, we're gonna fight. So I think my happiness in the morning. It
has to be morning. It can be
happy morning. Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's doing mornings.
Oh wait, are we not doing mornings? Just a happy thing?
It doesn't have to be morning. It's just something that you do that makes your day better.
Every day?
It doesn't have to be every day.
So, the thing I guess that I do that makes me happy, that has nothing to do with code and nothing to do with anything, I think is it combined my hair and makeup. I think I don't do it every day, but yeah, I don't know.
You put your makeup in your hair and then rub it on your face?
I actually do. That's where the pink comes from. I have to meticulously one by one blush and curl. It's really just the most daunting task, but I mean, it makes me happy.
So wait, what do you mean? So you do your hair? What do you mean by combine your hair and makeup?
Oh, so like you know, doing my hair and my makeup. So you know, curls take a lot of time and love and effort. So it's nice to kind of just be able to be like, okay, I did a thing, and then throughout the day, like you can like see the curls actually start forming and being like lively and bouncy and happy, and it's just like, hey, I look at that. Like it makes you like happy because it's like, look at this pink thing that was just like limp and gross and ugly in the morning, and now it's like this giant curl bounce of awesome, right? Like it's nice.
It is a giant curl bounce of awesome.
It is a giant curl bounce, yes.
and
all you, Steven.
On you now.
Me, not this guy.
No.
I agree. Taking the time to help yourself look dapper is very helpful. Just for that throughout the day. But for me, just spending time with my family. I've got a daughter, and she's so much fun. And she likes to wake up early, so we'll have breakfast together, and you know, I'll read my Bible with her, and we'll have some breakfast together and hang out before I have to get on with work and everything. That definitely helps, you know, slow the day down a little bit by having some quiet time with her.
Oh, that's nice.
Tom, kiddo stories are so cute, and they make me internally cry of happiness. I love it so much.
I'll make her explode. I'll have like my dog come over here and like lick my face.
Oh, please do.
Who are those twins behind you, Janelle? Those twin kids?
Look, I'm
okay.
not happening anymore. I'm done. This is Halloween.
Steven, we are at our lightning round. So we're going to ask you a bunch of questions that we either didn't get to ask you during the show or just some random things here and there. And it's just going to be some quick questions with some quick answers. You ready?
Sure.
All right, great. Your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh, that's hard to pick a favorite. Good gravy. Sonic the Hedgehog. Not the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog, I think, was very influential.
Grapes or raisins?
Both.
All right. Favorite pizza toppings?
Cheese. Definitely my go-to. Pepperoni is always good, and like David, I do enjoy pineapple on pizza.
Oh, yeah, me too. I love pineapple on pizza. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Favorite thing about myself? My beard is probably my go-to. It's gotten me this far, so you know, let's stick with it.
If you could fly to any country, anywhere in the world for free, where would you go?
Those amazing islands that I can't think of the name of. They're out like in the direction of in the Pacific. They're just kind of these ring islands where I guess it's like, you know, some kind of volcano or something that formed them, but they're just like a ring of land with water in the middle and water all surrounding them. And, you know, in total, it's probably like 5 square miles of land. But that would be just super cool to visit and just gorgeous.
The guy behind me says it's Bora Bora.
Bora Bora. Probably around there, yes.
Cereal. Your favorite cereal?
Favorite cereal? Man, Oops All Berries was my jam growing up.
Nice. If you couldn't be in front of a computer, what would you be doing professionally?
Professionally, I don't know. Music is probably the only other thing I've really made any kind of effort at outside of a computer. So
this is going to be a hard one, and I'm so sorry. I apologize in advance. But what's your favorite thing about JS Fiddle?
JS Fiddle.
That's not nice.
I like that you don't have to put any effort into anything you put on JS Fiddle. You can just throw it out there and it's done.
That was really classy. I love it.
Broccoli or cauliflower? I'm very food oriented.
Broccoli, for sure.
I'm all out of questions. You guys got any more?
No. I'm good.
Stephen, we're right at the end of the show, and would like to ask you one final thing. What is a piece of advice that you would like to bestow upon our audience? Any kind of final parting words that you could provide?
Yes. Thunder Nerds listeners, you have worth. You were created in this specific time with a mind and abilities that are distinct to you. You can make a difference in a way that you are uniquely positioned to make. Everyone has hard days and struggles, so be positive and loving. Get out there and help others. Do and create, because you can make this world a better place in a way that only you can.
I want that on a shirt. I want that.
Bad gum, you nailed that.
Man, that's
long for a shirt, but
that reminded me so much of Mr. Rogers.
I still want to see that documentary.
Oh, it was so good. People cried in the theater.
Oh, wow. I think there's a movie coming out with Tom Hanks doing Mr. Rogers.
Yes, that looks
really.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. Well, Stephen, what is the best way people could get a hold of you? Obviously, we're going to put some links in the show notes, but if you don't mind for our people that are listening.
Yeah, Twitter is usually best. You can find me at Shashaw, SHSHAW, or at Keyframers. And then the Keyframers site, keyframers.io, has all our links. Keyframe.rs. I'm thinking thundernerds.io, which you should also check out. Keyframe.rs has our links across all the social media and videos and everything like that. So yeah, you should head there.
I love that domain. That's like the best domain ever.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, hey, man, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for coming on last minute. That was super awesome.
Yeah.
It was great having you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Steve. And thanks, everybody out there, for watching. Please go to thundernerds.io, give us a review, and subscribe. Toodles and noodles.